Let's explore these official GMAT problems. To get the most out of this video, pause the recording now and solve the problems yourself. The correct answers are A and E. How did you do? You probably found the first problem easier than the second. The first is categorized as easy and the second as hard. Notice that both problems have variables in the answer choices. This is a pretty common thing to see in GMAT quant problems, and it means that you, the test taker, have a choice to make. You could solve the problem using algebra, i.e. turning the words into equations and rearranging those equations, and that works well for many problems if you have good algebra skills. But there's also another way that avoids algebra completely, and that's the one I want to explore here. Let's look at the first problem. The starting point of this strategy is to pick a number. Have the mindset of thinking, let's take an example and see what happens. Imagine that x is 0 and y is 1. These are the simplest numbers I can think of. Let's see where they take us. The next step is to work through the situation. I rent a tractor and it costs me nothing for the first 24 hours. The next hour after that, however, costs me $1 and so on. So if I rent a tractor for 36 hours, it's going to cost me $12. Notice how working with real numbers can help me understand the situation. For all of us, actual numbers are easier than variables. Let's clarify things. I assigned x equals 0 and y equals 1. And, according to those numbers, the answer to the question is 12. I make sure to be clear on my paper, and I call 12 the target, as that's the answer I'm hoping to get. The final step of this strategy is to test the answers. I'm going to plug in my values for x and y and hope that I get to the target of 12. Let's do it. Answer A gives me 12. That's good, but I'm not going to stop here. Answer B gives me 36, so I can eliminate B. Answer C gives me 1, eliminate. Answer D, however, gives me 12 as well. I'll come back to that. Answer E gives me 36. Again, eliminate. Something funny has happened. I've got two answers that give me 12. This isn't ideal, but it's not a disaster either. I've managed to narrow the answer choices to just 2, and this could be a win on a hard problem. Perhaps I should just take a guess and move on at this stage. If I have enough time, I can go back and pick some more numbers. Let's change x to $10. That would make my target 22. I'm going to plug x and y into the answers again, but notice I don't need to recheck the ones I've eliminated. I've already proved that these aren't the right answers. Answer A becomes 22, and answer D becomes 240 plus 12, that's 252. The correct answer is A. Why did I get two answers that worked the first time? It was because I picked a value for x that was too easy. We want to pick numbers that are easy to work with, but not too easy. I would suggest usually to avoid 0 and 1 and any repeated numbers. You'll get a better idea of which numbers to pick if you practice this strategy a few times. However, despite not using the best numbers, notice how I still made progress. I managed to eliminate 3 answers. And my numbers were quick and easy to check, so I had time to pick new ones if I needed to. It's often better to go ahead and try out something imperfect rather than to stay in a state of confusion doing nothing. I'm going to call this strategy variables in the answers smart numbers, and it's one that needs a bit of practice if we're going to use it in a test. Let's apply it to the second problem. Notice that this is a rates problem, and I'm going to organize the information on my paper with a diagram. I'll draw out a line to show the trip. Let's say that Francine traveled half the trip at 40 miles per hour, and then half the trip at 60 miles per hour. But how long was her trip? Notice, the problem never tells us, and it looks like we wouldn't be able to calculate it. Let's pick another smart number for the distance she travels, say 100 miles. That's step 1. I've picked some numbers. Step 2 is to work through the situation. I'm looking for the average speed. Remember to pay attention to the units. Miles per hour means miles divided by hours. I know that she traveled 100 miles, but I need to work out how long it took her. For the first part of the journey, traveling at 40 miles per hour, 40 miles takes 1 hour. And then 10 more miles is going to take quarter of an hour. At 60 miles per hour, 10 miles takes 1/6 of an hour, and 50 miles takes 5/6 of an hour. That's 50 minutes. Now I need to add these together to see how long the whole trip took. I can do that, but the fractions are turning out to be a bit difficult to work with. Let's go back and change our smart numbers. What if she traveled 40 miles at 40 miles per hour and then 60 miles at 60 miles per hour? That's much easier. The journey took her 2 hours in total. Step 3. Let's clarify things. If she travels 40 miles out of 100 at 40 miles per hour, that's 40% of the distance, so x equals 40. And her average speed for the trip is going to be 100 divided by 2. That's 50 miles per hour. Our target is 50. Step 4. We need to plug our smart number of x equals 40 into the answer choices to see which one gives us the target 50. For A, 180 minus 40, that's 140 divided by 2 is 70. Eliminate A. For B, 40 plus 60, that's 100 divided by 4, that's 25. Eliminate B. For C, 300 minus 40 is 260 divided by 5, that's not 50, that's 52. D, 600 divided by 75, well, I can see that's far away from 50. I believe that's going to be 8. That leaves just E. Let's check it's the right answer. 12,000 divided by 240. I can cancel a 0, and then I can divide top and bottom by 12. That gives me 100 divided by 2. That's 50. That's our target. The correct answer is E. This problem is difficult to solve with equations, and it would probably take a long time too. Using variables in the answer's smart numbers is a valuable option here. That's how I'd treat this strategy, as an option. Remember that the GMAT is very much a strategy test. We have to make tough decisions about how to solve each problem. Sometimes algebra will be better, and sometimes smart numbers. Which one you choose depends on your strengths and weaknesses, on the particular problem, and also on the time you have available in the test. However, the first step is to get fluent at the strategy of variables in the answer's smart numbers. Check out the link below for some follow-up tasks.